Welcome back to the Last Visit First podcast. Today's guest is Dr. Heather Hodges. She's an organizational psychologist, leadership strategist, and one of the most compelling voices in culture transformation across home health, hospice, and palliative care. She's the founder and the CEO of the Hodges Group International, where she works with executives and frontline teams to build courageous leadership, strength, psychology, safety, and ignite creativity in complex care environments. Dr. Hodges brings more than 25 years of experience, including senior leadership roles inside of Fortune 500's best companies. And she's known nationwide for her high energy keynotes, which we hired her to do one at the Maxwell conference, that blend storytelling, behavioral science, and even live speed painting, which if you haven't seen her paint, you got to watch her paint. She's amazing. She's also an author of two influential books, Heartwork and The Creative Clinical Leader, and is the host of I'm In podcast. She explores human potential, culture, and leadership and innovation across healthcare. Most importantly, Dr. Hodges has a rare ability to make leadership feel personal, actionable, and deeply human. Welcome to the show, Dr. Hodges.
Tom, what an amazing introduction. If I live up to half of that, we're going to be okay. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, tell us your story, Dr. Hodges. You want me to call you Heather or Dr. Hodges?
Oh my gosh. Yes, Heather, please.
Okay, I'll call you Heather. All right, Heather, tell us your story. I want to hear, how did you get to here? How did you get to be, oh my gosh, write 2 books, do a podcast, all the things you've accomplished. Tell me more.
That's a long story, but the short version is I've always considered myself a creative. I recognized leadership gifts in myself, and fortunately others did too, or early on. And I have a heart for people. And those things combined kind of have led me down this path. I'm also a voracious learner. But the reason I got to home health and hospice was because of April Anthony. And so that's an interesting story. She had hired me to come in and train multiple times. She had had me come in and train the executives on presentation skills at Encompass Health, back in the day. And she kept having me back to train. And I was just a contractor for her. And then one day she texted me and said, "Hey, let's go to lunch." And at lunch, she recruited me, offered me a job at Encompass. And that's when I fell in love with home health and hospice and just the home care industry in general. And that was that she started recruiting me to train her executives back in 2016, 2017. And then I came on board full time in 2018. And about a year and a half ago, I launched out, actually more than that, nearly 2 years now, I launched out into the world as the Hodges Group International, started writing books and training and keynoting and painting, speed painting, as you know, and I haven't looked back, but my heart is with the home health and hospice organizations and the frontline leaders. And that's, the main reason why I wrote my books was for frontline branch directors in particular. So that's my story, Tom, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So here's what we learned from that. If you go to lunch with April Anthony, she's probably going to hire you or buy your company.
Watch out.
I went to lunch with April Anthony in 2005 and I got a job and she changed my life. So,
yeah.
So it was amazing.
She's an extraordinary woman.
She very, very much is. And she's influenced so many people on this podcast. She's influenced people that I've had on the podcast, all the companies around it. We all have respect for her and we're super excited to, be in line with her. So, and she's been on the podcast. She was on that episode 2. Yeah. So it was really exciting. It was a great podcast. I was actually nervous.
Wait. We're going to pause on that because here's the thing. You started your podcast after mine. I asked her first to be on my podcast, and all of a sudden, I see her on your podcast.
I don't know.
She still hasn't been on mine, but she told me she would. So
one of these days, I can't wait to listen to it.
One of these days, yeah.
That's awesome. She was awesome on it. I've done 12 of these now, and she was the only one I was nervous on. And I've spent more time with April than I probably spent with my wife, Jennifer, over the years. And I was still nervous to have her on here. So there you go.
Yeah, she's a giant.
She is. When you hear the phrase "last visit first," what does it invoke from your perspective around an organizational psychologist?
I love that phrase. And when you first told me that was going to be the name of your podcast, I paused and I was like, what does that mean? And then I started thinking about it and what it means to me. And I think it means the same to you as well, is that when we are doing the precious work of visiting patients in their home and being around families and patients, we should approach the very first visit as if it was our last. That it is that the preciousness, the care, the attention to detail, the just the attention that we give to the patients and to the family in those really tender moments of life. We should do that from the very beginning. So last visit first. I thought it was a creative title, Tom.
It was. I'm going to tell you, be honest, ChatGPT helped me name it, but I
Well,
gave it a whole bunch of reasons why, and it named it, and I was like, that's really
mm-hmm,
good. So
mm-hmm.
there you go. Kudos to ChatGPT and OpenAI for that one.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about pivotal experience in your career that reshaped the way you think about leadership.
Hmm.
You've written a couple of books about this. You talk about it in your podcast all the time, but what was that pivotal, point in your career that reshaped how you think about leadership?
Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about that, and because I've had a lot of amazing leaders in my life, and I've had some real duds as well. Just some people who I thought, wow, how did you get to this position? And it's like they didn't know anything. And I think the nodal event in my life that shaped the leader that I am, the trainer that I am, the speaker that I am, was probably learning the Enneagram and understanding how different everybody is and how different our motivations are and how everybody just sees the world completely differently. And that experience, understanding the Enneagram of personality is what we call it, and just really diving deep into the motivations of different individuals and how different personality types lead and what are their blind spots, what are their communication patterns. That helped me have more compassion on myself, but then also for some of those leaders who I was judging and thinking, wow, you're a dud, but they're just so different than me. They're just approaching things differently than I might approach things. So that was a pivotal event in my life, and that was in the mid-teens, somewhere. So it hasn't been that long that I've been working with that, just that model of personality, but it's been formative for me.
Sure. I think I told you when I was on your podcast, I don't know, it's been a few months ago,
Hmm.
Jennifer and I did a couples communication camp in Sedona. We were both CEOs of the business. We were struggling with how do we make decisions? How do we work together? And we went to this lady's house in Sedona and it was amazing. And we did the Enneagram and, it absolutely, we were complete opposites. Her and I are, and communicating is, with the complete opposite
Yeah.
is a challenge. And it opened my eyes too. It was a good one. If you haven't done your Enneagram, I think you should, or hire Dr.
Mm,
Hodges to come into your company and rotate around. There's a lot of other different versions of it, but I think the
mm,
Enneagram was a really good one. There's a good book out
mhm,
on it too. So you can probably link
mhm.
it to the show notes. That's awesome. Um, so you think you have this thing called 12 types of creative genius, which I think is genius, by the way.
Thank you.
I know you named that, and then that's awesome. But how might the 12 types of creative genius framework apply to diverse roles across care teams, nurses,
Mhm,
aides, social workers, chaplains,
mhm.
office staff, administrative schedulers, all these different people that are inside of a home health and hospice organization? Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you bet. So the Hodges 12 types of creative genius is brand new. In fact, it's in the research phase right now. And the reason that I'm pioneering this new model, this new framework for helping people understand their creativity is because I have stood on dozens and dozens of stages and told people, you have a creative genius, but I didn't show them how, and I didn't show them what type of creative genius that they actually have. And so in my PhD research, this is what I studied. I studied creativity and innovation in healthcare. And we don't have a model to help people identify their particular type of creativity. And the rub comes because in the US, somehow, somewhere, some why, we have identified creativity with art and innovation with science. But that is an incomplete picture. Creativity is the production of novel and useful ideas that solve problems. And innovation is just the implementation of those creative ideas. So creativity is the engine that drives innovation. You cannot have innovation without creativity. And I can't tell you, Tom, how many times I have sat in boardrooms or worked with executive teams, and I've had a CEO say, yeah, we just need to innovate, but we can't get too creative. And I'm thinking, well, you just don't understand that at all. Let me help you with that. uh, we must tap into our creativity. We have complex problems to solve in home care, in healthcare, in our country, in the world. And we are not going to solve those problems until we tap into and unleash the creativity of everyone on our team. And so the Hodges 12 Types of Creative Genius is an assessment, it's a model, and it's an upcoming book. So I'm on book 3 right now, Tom. It will help you. Yeah, we're going to talk about this. We're going to get you
I
right.
know.
Oh, but these types of genius are helping you identify what are your innate gifts. And there's 12 of them, and they break down into 3 different domains it's basically cognitive, affective, and behavioral, your head, heart, and hands. So you have different creative geniuses that are innate to you, maybe that you've developed over time or that you naturally gravitate to. And my mission is to help you and help organizations identify that creativity, those creative genius in organizations, and then help you unleash them, augment them, train them so that you can drive innovation. But first, we've got to find out what we have. What is the genius that we've got?
Do you have to have, is it just one? You either have head, heart, or hands, or can you have multiple? And then if you have a head, do you need a heart and a hand to go along with those?
Mm-hmm. I love that question. You're absolutely right. So in the assessment, and I'll send it to you, and I'd love for Cole to take it as well. You get a profile, and I give you your top 3, the ones that you identify the most with. And what I'm noticing just in my research so far is that, yeah, you usually have a dominant domain, like you might have a dominant heart, like the emotional aspect, the relational aspect of creativity. And those are like connecting with people or cultivating environments, the healer. And so the 4 in that domain are called the connector, the cultivator, the healer, and the teacher. So those are all in the relational heart domain. And then in the cognitive domain, we've got the synthesizer, the strategist, the scientist, and the communicator. And then we also have, just rounding it out, we have that functional domain. So these are the hands, the artist, the builder, the designer, and then the organizer. And so, yeah, you usually have a stacking of those, and they may mostly stack in one domain, but I've seen them cross domains, and that's when it's really powerful. And when you think about a team, and you can imagine this as the different organizations that you've built and led, along with Jen, is you need multiple domains of creativity to drive innovation. Yeah, you need the person that has that functional, the hands. You need the relational, the heart, and then the conceptual, the head as well, so that you can make it all work. I think that's what's really exciting about it. It's like you don't just have one. You may have a top one, but you also have a cluster of creative genius.
It's absolutely true. Like Scott's our organizer. I mean, by far, he's the most organized person I've ever met. I mean, he's got everything lined up. And then Jen's more the communicator and the heart side. And I'm definitely the head, the strategist, the thinker, it's funny. Cole and I were talking about this the other day. I do most of my best work at the gym, and people are like, that's weird. I come up with product ideas at the gym. I'm always listening to the podcast, but I'll catch something and I'm that guy sitting on the weights, typing on my phone, but coming up with a blog post or coming up with a new product idea. And I mean, all the nano products came up from me working out at the gym, and I don't know why. But it's amazing how you have to have all those pieces in the organization. If I didn't have Scott, or I didn't have Jay, or I didn't have Jen on our team, we wouldn't be successful because, I'm coming up with ideas and giving it to Scott. He figures out how to organize it all. And then Jen and Jay communicate it to the rest of the organization. So it's cool. You're right on. You're spot on that. And I love it that you called it the 12 types of creative genius. That's it's interesting.
Trademarked it.
You did. Yeah, I saw that. Even when I was going through writing my notes, I saw that you had a trademark on it. That's great.
Yeah, I'm put my flag in the ground really quick on that one.
That's good. Yeah, you're really good at doing that stuff. That's awesome. All right, in care organizations, where do you believe the greatest untapped leverage sits today?
Frontlines.
Creative culture, frontlines. Why?
Frontlines and culture. Yeah, I think that. So I think you got to let it rain and you got to make it flood. I think from both perspectives. So I think the greatest untapped resources in home care today are people closest to the work. I think some organizations are doing a good job of this, of tapping into those resources and listening to the people and helping them come up with the solutions for some of the challenging problems we have on front lines for, care delivery, for example. But we also need to have executive teams and CEOs who are wildly creative and risk tolerant to an extent, being taking smart risks, but then also tapping into the creativity and the solutions that their people provide. And it takes a creative leader to be able to cultivate the environment, the culture where those kinds of solutions can emerge. The it's Tom, I've seen it so many times where you have a leader and they may be just, big hearted. They may truly want something amazing for their team, or if they're in an executive position, they may want something amazing for their organization, but they are so controlling that nobody can move. And so therefore nobody can take a risk or do anything creative in order to innovate and to solve problems. And so I think you've got to release the creativity of the people that are closest to the work, smart, you've got to do this in an intelligent way. But then also from the executive and senior leader perspective, you've got to be able to create a culture, an environment where people can flourish and where their ideas can take root. And what we know from an organizational psychology perspective and in organizational development is when people feel like that they are able to use their creativity at work, they are more loyal to your organization. They are more likely to stay. And so therefore you're going to have higher retention and less turnover. And people will just flourish in that kind of culture.
Yeah, it's amazing when we talk about this all the time. We hire humble, hungry, and smart are the three kind of goals that Jennifer Maxwell does. But a lot of times, companies will hire people and then they'll tell them, here's your job. Here's what you're going to do. Go do this. And okay, but why not hire smarter people and say, hey, here's the thing we want to accomplish. How do you want, here's our goal. Go figure out how to accomplish it. Don't tell them how to do their job. Tell them here's the tools or the grounds or the boundaries, but then let them run and let them go do that. And they'll be way better than, I'll tell you about a scenario that we built at Home Care Home Base back in the years. And it was called the Point Care Improvement Coordination Note. And so we had all these nurses and social workers and chaplains and aides and PTs and OTs and STs that were out in the field. And we would go and create all this documentation. We're like, you're going to fill this documentation out this way. And, it was skip logic. And so question, then answer, question, then answer. And then we'd always get all these complaints. And so back in the days, a long time ago, we built this Point Care Improvement Coordination Note. And so anytime inside of a visit where you saw something was dumb or repetitive or misspelled or whatever, we could get, input from the field. And believe it or not, it's not used as much as you would think it would be. But I'm like, you have thousands and thousands of people out in the field doing documentation that are looking at the same thing every day, and they're like mad about it. And so all they have to do is just tell us about it, and we'll go correct it. And so we implemented this to say, give us your feedback. It's a very simple solution of that. If you see a problem in the documentation, tell us about it and we'll correct it. But instead we say, here's your documentation, go do it. And we don't tell them about that coordination note that they could easily put in and let us improve your documentation. You're answering a pain question 3 times inside of an assessment because somebody duplicated that assessment and you're frustrated with it, but you don't tell anybody about it. And so when we implemented that, we were hoping that people would tell them about it. But hopefully that's a small example of kind of what you're talking about. But
that's right.
Why not get influence from the entire university of the field? There's a universe of field clinicians out there. Why not use them to help you do your documentation?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's smart people out there using it. Let's get their feedback.
HCHB is proud to sponsor the Last Visit First podcast, which explores the complex issues faced by today's home health and hospice providers.
In the spotlight today, Chief Revenue Officer Hannah Pearson, explaining how HCHB uses technology to connect people.
One of my favorite phrases is relationship architect. The focus is about the client and building the right community, the right fabric of community around our customers, making sure that from the very bottom to the very top, they had a resource and a contact to reach out to with any problems, and that we could connect them quickly and expeditiously to the right resource. That's where the client success team was born, and we touch people at every level of the organization.
All right. Your book, Heart Work. What does heart
Yeah.
work look like in the context of hospice and home health?
Mm-hmm. So Heart Work is the name of my latest book, and the full title is Heart Work: How to Lead People, Build Culture, and Unleash Creativity in Home Care. And I wrote that book as a leadership manual, but also just as a companion to people who are doing this hard work. Because the premise that I come from in the book is that, yeah, home care is hard work. It's one of the hardest jobs in all of healthcare, but it's also hard work. And if you are not engaged from your heart, it's going to be work. It's not a calling at that point. And I think so many people in this industry are here because they're called to be here. Like this is their ministry. This is their calling. It's not just a job. And so that's what heart work is. It's a leadership manual. I wrote it for the mid-level, senior level, executive level managers and supervisors and executives in home care. And it does start with self-leadership. And I use the Enneagram. So I teach the Enneagram at the first part of the book. And then the massive middle is the build culture. And the leadership strategies that leaders do day in and day out, this is what builds culture. Yeah, there's competency in there. There's, how do you handle this situation? What are some ideas for this as a leader? But it's all about building a culture where your employees can thrive, because that's the main job of a leader. You've got two jobs: get stuff done and help people flourish.
It's true.
Right?
That's true.
We've got a mandate to do the work, but you have just a whole team of people under you. And depending on where you are in leadership, that may be 5 people, that may be 5,000 people or more. And you have to create that culture, that environment where they can do their best work possible and hold people accountable and delegate and all of those competencies. And then the last part of the book is about unleashing creativity. And of course, that's my favorite part,
Sure.
as a creativity researcher. But it's about helping people to, do the things we were talking about earlier, of unleashing their own creative genius and problem solving and creating the environment where that sort of thing can happen. And it does come down to psychological safety and time and resources. And so it's hard work. It was a labor of love. I enjoyed every minute of it. I am right now, I am recording the audiobook for it. So that should be ready by January.
And are you reading it?
I am. That's why it's taking so long.
That's awesome. That is great. That is really good. I was listening to another podcast this last week, and it was they were talking about how hard that is to read your own book and in your own voice, and try to keep it stable across multiple weeks and months, because it takes a long time to read a book out loud and record it. So
tell me about it.
I'm totally impressed. I'm totally impressed by that. I very seldom read books, but I listen all the time when I'm working and when I'm working out. So I've definitely I read yours because you gave me a pre-advanced copy of that book. It's an amazing. If you haven't got it, all right. So where do I find that book? Where do I
That's
find
on
all your
Amazon.
books?
Yeah,
All
Amazon. Yeah, okay. Amazon. Easy peasy. Get there in 2 days.
Yeah, Cole, make sure we put that in the show notes, please, and put a link to her book. So if people want it and they want to get it for their teams, they can. On the Jason podcast with Levo, we were talking a lot about this. When people are really good at their job in home health and hospice, they get promoted. Like if you're a great sales guy, you get promoted to sales leader. Or if you're a great nurse, we pull you into the back office. Now you're a clinical supervisor, and then you're really good at that, and we make you a regional supervisor. Then we make you a DON or a director of nursing or an administrator, or then you become the chief operating officer and then the CEO. There's no classes out there in college that teach you that. I mean, a lot of it's what you learned. And so how do we help motivate and coach these people? One, you want to climb the ladder because people want to get out of the field and they want to go into leadership, and they hopefully can make more money and can be responsible for more things. But how do we teach people how to be leaders? I mean, it's something we all had to learn. And by the way, I learned the hard way multiple times in my career.
Yeah, me too. By getting it wrong is what I'm guessing you mean.
Many times I got it wrong.
Yes, same. Yeah. When training other leaders and equipping other leaders is the work of a lifetime, and that's what every leader should be doing. And I think leadership is like the hero's journey, that you step out into the call, and then you hopefully find a guide along the way, and then you face your the dark night of the soul. You've got to face your dragon. You've got to overcome the dragon. Then you've got to, bring that wisdom, back home. And then your job as a leader is to turn that around and become a guide in somebody else's life and somebody else's leadership journey. Because
For
the
sure.
interesting thing about the, the hero's journey, I'm using that analogy. We all know it it's a narrative structure, but the hero is a weak character. The hero is weak. The hero fails so often. It's not till the last 10 minutes of a movie till we realize, oh, the leaders, they're the star. No, it's the guide the whole time. It's Yoda in Luke
Right.
Skywalker's ear and helping him and training him. Yoda's the strong one. Luke was weak until he becomes the guide and starts training others. So that's the path of leadership in my view is, yes, you've got to answer the call. You've got to step over the line of what is known and step into what is unknown. And then you better get yourself a guide or multiple guides really quick. And that's where those of us in leadership, we should be looking for those people that we are mentoring and training, and people that we can help walk alongside as their guide. Because they're going to mess up just like you and I did, just like we will again, mess up, because we're human and we're not perfect. But having a guide alongside you when you do mess up will help you learn from your mistakes and learn fast, so you can assimilate that knowledge and keep moving forward and be wiser in your leadership moving forward.
Yeah. I
So
think
that's what I
everybody
think
needs a
organizations
mentor.
do.
I think
Yeah.
everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs a coach. I don't care what level you're at. If you're at the senior man at the largest home health and hospice, or senior woman at the largest home health and hospice agency, you need a coach. I mean, Tiger Woods still has a coach. Every baseball player in the United States that hits home runs every year still has a coach. And
The best of the best have a coach.
they do. And it's something we always forget. Yeah, coaching wellness, coaching life, coaching business. Everybody needs I'm not, a giant book reader and all that kind of stuff. But I think if you have something that you can push, like, how do you make this decision? Like, I'm struggling with, do we, promote this person or hire this person, or what do we do? Having someone else to bounce all the ideas off of, it's really good. One of my greatest coaches taught us, Jennifer and I had him as a coach. He said, if you knew what you knew about this person today, would you rehire them? And that's one of the biggest things when we make, decisions in the company around, is this the right person or right seat on the bus, or whatever you want to call that, is, if you knew about what you knew about them today, would you rehire him or her? And it's a great question. And if you ask yourself that a lot, it'll make you make the right decision for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to be a hard decision. And we've made a lot of those hard decisions in our careers. And there's nothing worse. You don't want to ever hurt anybody's feelings or upset them, but you have to have the right team on the bus in order to be successful in your company. And those are tough. All right, let's get into a little bit more on communication. Where do communications break down most often between caregivers, patients, and families? And then how can these creative moments that you're talking about in your books and in your speaking engagements, how can we help caregivers solve that problem between families and caregivers, or families and patients and caregivers?
That's a hard one, because we're not always in the room. We're not always in the house, in the home when that is happening. But I think one of the most important skills that we need as communicators, whether you are a frontline caregiver, whether I've been the family member in the room, both lost a dear mother, and been on hospice and experienced what it feels like from that perspective. But I think one of the most important things that we need to do and have and learn as communicators, I think one of the first things we need to do is understand what sets us off. What gets under your skin? What is your trigger? What is going to rile you up? And then be able to recognize that in the moment and calm yourself back down and be the least anxious person in the room, so that you can care completely and deeply, and then so that you can communicate more effectively across that continuum of care, whether you are the clinician or the family member, because there's going to be stuff that triggers you, and it may not be anger, it may be it may be a different emotion, but understanding what sets you off first is a good first step to becoming a better communicator.
Yeah, especially when you start to deal with dementia patients and some of those kind of things. I've Scott Tapp and I talk a lot about it on one of the podcasts, but it's tough. And when, to take your emotion aside and be the most supportive person in the room is really hard. And you're right, the trigger points is you got to get beyond those because it's not going to be helpful. The other one that I heard the other day that I loved was shut up and listen. That's the best communicators learn how to shut up and listen.
Listen more.
Stop talking and shut up and listen.
Yeah.
So,
There's research. There's fascinating research that shows, and this is for clinicians, that when clinicians interrupt patients, the outcomes are worse. But if they will only listen 11 seconds longer, the outcomes are better. I'm talking 11 seconds. You can't shut up for 11 seconds. Just listen, because we will learn so much more information if we will just sit and listen. I think that's great advice. And that's true for supervisors and leaders as well. People will give you a lot of information if you will hush and let them talk.
I don't know if you know David Gonzardo. Do you know him? He's the CEO of Alternate Solutions. He's a really good friend of mine. He's been my customer since 2005. And one thing that everybody always talks about David is he's the best listener. And he really is. When you sit in a room with him, I don't care who you're talking to, an aide, a guy at the car wash, guy at the baseball game, guy at the football game, he's the greatest listener. And he looks at you, he listens, he engages. You're the only person in the room, never picks up his cell phone. I mean, it's amazing. And I want to emulate David. And when you talk to people like, hey, do you know David? He's like, oh, that guy's just the best listener. He's the best communicator. And he's super successful in home health and hospice. They've grown that to be gigantic.
This is Scott Beard, Chief Strategy Officer at Maxwell Tech. One of the biggest challenges in post-acute care is leakage, when patients leave your care and never come back, even when they need you the most. Many agencies hire staff to call patients after discharge, but the sheer volume means only a small percentage can actually be reached. That leaves gaps, drives up cost, and puts patients at risk. That's why we created NanaConnect Reach, a fully automated text-based engagement platform that follows up with every patient every time. Reach reduces the cost of staffing while delivering something no call center team can match: the automated reach of 100% of your patient population. Patients love the ease of texting, and agencies love the results. Engagement rates are consistently 30 to 40%, meaning patients are not only getting the messages, they're responding. With NanaConnect Reach, agencies lower cost, protect against leakage, and ensure no patient slips through the cracks. Learn more at maxwelltech.com or connect with us via email at sales@maxwelltech.com.
All right, let's talk about technology and creativity. So how can technology and creativity coexist to strengthen human connection at the end of life?
Yeah. Okay. So let's first talk about, I love this question, Tom. I'm not sure how to help with the end of life, but we may get there as we unpack it. But with the invention of AI, in my field, creativity had to adapt its definition of creativity.
Sure.
Yeah, because now AI can create. It can create art. It can create songs. Almost lifelike, like almost human. But what we have found is that the emotional element is missing, and so human creativity remains novel and useful. And then we've added the emotional element to it, because as great as AI is, it can't feel. Only humans can do that, and that's what makes human creativity so absolutely extraordinary and infinite. But I think that creating alongside technology is absolutely the future, and we need to get good at it. And your example of naming your podcast is a fantastic example of that. You knew you needed a name. You wanted it to resonate. You gave AI tons of prompts to get there, but you were the one who recognized that's it. Like that's what I want it to be, and you chose that. That wasn't AI's decision. That was a human decision to do that. And I think that when we can create alongside technology and AI, we're going to have amazing, absolutely extraordinary results. I mean, it's an exciting time, but I also think that it elevates human creativity even more, the things that only a human can do. I'm thinking about you have an editor for this podcast, Cole, and he makes human creative decisions as he is editing. Now, AI can probably do it, but you could tell that it's AI.
Sure.
But when a human hand and a human heart and head come, do that creating and do that editing, it's clear. Like, it's just superior. But we also can use technology to go faster and to ideate more. And when we think about at bedside, that gets super exciting because it frees the clinician up to do only the things that only a human can do, which is the emotional side of caregiving. And that's an exciting time for clinicians too, I think.
Yeah. And so I think about perfect example. And, we use Riverside to edit this podcast, and Riverside will go in and tell you all the areas where you need to look at and adjust. And then Cole goes and adjusts them, but he has to make a decision. Do I want to keep that, Tom's stupid word he said, or not bad word, or did I change it or whatever? But I think about like the Metalogics tool set or Mosaic tool set that we built.
Yeah.
Clinician used to have to read a 25, 30 page referral document to see what's going on with the patient when they got into the home. And so it's really hard to read a 25-page document when you got to do 5 visits a day. I mean, just to read 25 pages is going to take you, scan them 15 to 20 minutes. If you read 1 page a minute, probably closer to an hour. So nobody reads them, right? They don't have enough time in their day to do it. But if AI can go and summarize that and say, hey, here's 12 bullet points of all the things that's going on with this patient. Here's the 6 medications they're on. Here's their allergies. Here's kind of the disease process they've been through, and here's what's going on in the hospital. In 1 page, I can read that summary and know everything that's going on about that patient.
Oh, yeah.
So I can spend way more time with that patient than I am sitting here scrolling on my tablet looking at all the documentation. That's where technology is really going to help us. Or if a patient's on Coumadin and I know I need to draw a PTI-NR, so to get the lab test done to make sure their Coumadin is right, the AI can tell me really easily, hey, it's been 2 weeks since you drew this PTI-NR, go do that. If without AI and out those tools, now I got to go read the notes. I got to go figure out when was the last time we did a PTI-NR. I got to remember this patient's on Coumadin and I got to do that. So that's where I think AI and the technology in the world is really going to help us. It makes us smarter. It could make us dumber, but it could make us smarter because it reminds us more. It gives us more relevant information to the relevant decision-making we're making. I love where technology is going right now. I think it's a lot of people are scared about it. They worry about it hallucinating and all that. I will tell you, it makes you faster, better, quicker than and why not have all the details to make a decision, especially as a business owner or someone running a podcast or whatever. Why not have all the details to help make the decision? But you still have to make a decision. And then I always say, AI can't hug you. The same thing you said, AI has feelings. AI can't give hugs. Maybe someday they'll give a hug, but today they don't.
Oh, gosh.
I don't want an AI hug.
I don't want an AI hug either. I'm out.
Where do you see the greatest opportunity to innovate? And we're talking about staffing shortages, burnout. What do you think about that kind of subject?
Dang, that one's tough because my field is people. That's I know people. I know what motivates them, what makes them tick. I can predict behavior, as an organizational psychologist and the things that I do. I think what makes that challenging is making sure that people feel safe and that they can do their work, that they can, have all, when you think about the Maslow's hierarchies of needs, that they have everything that they need. They've got good pay, they've got good benefits, but then they also have the other things up the pyramid, like friends at work, like being able to problem solve themselves and then be able to, to create this workplace and this culture where they can thrive. And I think that at the end of the day, it's going to be an amazing culture that solve some of our talent and staffing challenges. Because remember, people don't usually leave organizations, they leave their supervisor. And if we can create a culture where we have leaders who are creating this environment where people can flourish, people are less likely to leave that. And so for me, it comes back to culture.
Hey, this is Alex with Steno Health. Our mission at Steno is simple: to improve the quality of life of the post-acute care clinician. Steno uses ethical, compliant AI to capture visits in real time and turn natural conversations into accurate notes and forms. We are clinicians ourselves, and we've designed Steno to never feel like an extra click or an extra burden in your day. The goal isn't to replace anything, but to support you in every aspect of your day so you can spend more time with your patients and still have the energy and freedom to be present with your family at the end of the day.
How can care organizations cultivate a willingness to learn, experiment, and evolve while remaining safe, compliant, and predictable?
I think that the market just pushes us right now. Like if you are standing still, you're going backwards right now. If you aren't creating and innovating and driving change, you're going to be left behind. And so I think that starts at the top. Like if you've got to have a CEO and an executive team that has a little bit of a risk tolerance to try some different things and to learn and iterate and adapt quickly. And when you fail, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, learn from it, and keep moving quickly. And above all, own that failure so that the rest of the team will own theirs too. And you can model that for your team. But you got to move. If you're like, okay, yeah, that worked, last year. Well, it may not work for next year. So we've got to do something differently. We've got to change.
Yeah, I do. And I think you have to be vulnerable too. You have to say, hey, we made that decision. We were doing this. We're going to scrap that project. We're going to move to this project and we're going to move. Or the government changed the rules and now we got to change what we're doing. And you got to be vulnerable. You got to be able to say, I screwed this up.
They changed the rules on us. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We made this mistake. We've put all this effort in building this product. It's not going to work. Let's go push this direction. I've done that multiple times in my career. I mean, we built a family portal at Home Care Home Base and we thought everybody wanted to use it. And we made it so complex, nobody used it. And it
was a good idea.
It's a great learning lesson for sure. All right. I got to get into your book stuff because it's on my mind. You're a speaker, a psychologist, a creator. What inspired you to go write a book? And then tell me more about it because I'm really interested in it.
Okay. Because you're going to write a book someday, right, Tom?
I don't know. Jennifer and I talk about it all the time. And I actually started an outline for the book a while back. And I don't know if I'll ever get to doing it.
Okay. All right. Well, we will definitely keep talking about that. But one of the reasons I wrote the creative clinical leader after I left Inhabit was because I didn't feel like my work was finished. And so that was kind of the culmination of some of my work from there. And it's, it is written for branch directors, those amazing nurses usually. I think in the state of Virginia, I think you can be a PT, but those just amazing nurses who, as you said earlier, were great at their job, fantastic nurses in the field. And then maybe they were promoted to clinical lead. And then, oh, you're great at that. Maybe you can become a branch director. But they weren't given a management course along the way. And so that's what that book is for. It is for that nurse who gets promoted into a leadership position. And hard work is really a companion to that book as well. It just expands it into every role in home care. And as far as I know, it is the only leadership book that's written for home care, home health and hospice, palliative, and in private duty.
I don't know another one. I don't think there's another one out there.
The only leadership book out there for this industry. And of course, I've coached and trained thousands of supervisors and managers and leaders and now executives in this industry. And so that book is a culmination of not just my background in psychology and leadership development, but I get it. I understand the challenges that they're going through because I've walked alongside those people. Like I haven't been in their shoes, but I've trained them, I've coached them, I've been with them and sat with them while they've cried, and I've rejoiced with them when they've had a win. And so that's what that book is about.
Cool. How long did it take you to write it?
That one was fast. I think I started it. I think that was an 8-week process, but then of course, like from start to finish, getting it, like covering the canvas, artist example there. But it took me about 8 weeks to cover the canvas, and then refining it and editing it, and then going through the publication process. That was probably another 8 weeks. So start to finish, altogether, it was probably 5 months altogether.
And
it was fast.
Did you do all that through Amazon, the editing and the publishing?
Yep. Yeah, I sure did. Yeah. And I decided to self-publish that book for several reasons. First of all, I like control. And surprise. And also you keep more of your royalties and you can go faster. So when you publish through a regular publisher, it can be, 12 months, 18 months before your book sees the light of day. And when you self-publish, you keep control and you can get it out there right away. And so
That's awesome.
that was I wanted it to get into the market and get into the hands of, managers in home care as fast as possible.
Cool. And so you have another one coming out, you said?
I do. I do.
It's
Now
exciting.
this one I might go the traditional route. We shall see. This idea is pretty big. This is my big idea. It could be a TED Talk, who knows? But
That's
the
awesome.
Hodges 12 types of creative genius, I'm calling it the Hodges 12, unleash your creative genius.
That's awesome.
And it it is designed, and I'm in the writing phase, right in the research phase right now, but it's that premise of everyone has a creative genius, and I'm going to help you figure that out and help you use it and unleash it in your work. And it will help drive innovation in organizations, but there's also a lot of dividends you get as an individual when you are using your creative gifts, whatever those creative gifts may be, because that's when you feel the most alive as a human being. And I would love for every organization to be able to unleash that in their workforce.
What do you hope readers will feel, learn, or differentiate after engaging with your book?
Well, hard work, I definitely want, first of all, I want them to understand themselves better, because you cannot be a good leader. You cannot lead other people until you can lead yourself first. And that's the first half of the book, is all about that self leadership. So that's the primary thing. But then I also want my readers of hard work to be able to create a culture where people can thrive and where they can do the best work of their lives and build the best relationships of their career, and then turn around, and if they are leaders, to build future leaders. And that's the premise of that book.
You saw me sigh, because that's one of the things I work on. Is the hardest thing for me is self-reflection, teach yourself, look in the mirror. I did hear a statement the other day that said, you want to be the oldest guy in the gym, not the youngest guy in the nursing home. And that resonated with me. I actually wrote it on my mirror so I could look at it every morning, just like, you want to be the oldest guy at the gym, not the youngest
Yes.
guy in the nursing home. And I don't ever want to have to do that. But self-reflection is tough. We've all
Yeah.
done it. And it's being vulnerable to yourself as well as to, those around you, and making sure I learn every day. I spend so much of my time reading and listening and learning, but being able to self-reflect, like, hey, I just started the 10X human, superhuman, all the peptides and, getting all your tests done, your blood work done, and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of it, for years, I was like, I don't want to know. I don't really care. I don't want to know. And now I want to live. I want to live to be a lot longer. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Hopefully, my kids will have grandkids someday, and in general, I'll be able to raise them or help raise them. But we're on this like wellness path now, and it's been like the
Love
last
it.
4 years. And it hit us one day. Both of us were sitting there, like, we spend so much time on our business and so much time on all these companies we work with, and like, but we don't take care of ourselves. And so let's go figure out how to take care of ourselves. So I changed my diet, changed who I am, work out every day, and try to quit drinking as much and have fun. But it's hard to self-reflect. And you're right. You hit it spot on right there. You have to fix yourself first, and figure out your leadership traits and how you want to be seen as a leader. I always thought I was good at it, but I want to be great at it, not just good.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Awesome.
All right. In your view, what's the single most meaningful outcome a team should aim for in the family's final visit?
Gosh, I think that's unique to every family, but just like a final visit, as in a hospice final visit. Is that
Yeah,
what you're asking me?
sure.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in the room when I was the family, and the dignity and the peace and just the gift of presence, I think, is what we should aim for. And respecting the family's culture as well, whatever culture that is, I think is also paramount, and being able to adapt to that is important.
Yeah, for
So,
sure. And everybody wants to be supportive and surrounded. Nobody wants to do
mhm.
that alone. And I always say
Mm-mm.
that nobody should ever die alone. And
Mm-mm.
so how do we make sure that the right people are there at the right time? It's super important. And that's kind of where all this started. Is I had that experience with Nana where, I got to say
Yeah.
goodbye to her, and it's amazing. And I don't want anybody to have to do that by themselves.
Yeah.
She knew we were there and we were supporting her, and that was important.
That's what matters. The presence. Yeah.
Presence, right? Being supported. All right. As you reflect on your own work, what legacy do you hope to leave professionally, creatively, or personally?
Oh my gosh. The
It's the best
legacy question, Tom.
I love it.
Gosh.
I love
Okay.
it.
I think that when someone comes up to me years after they've either been in a class or I've coached them, or maybe they saw me paint on stage and I was, they heard me deliver a keynote. I think the most impactful thing that they could say to me is, you help me know myself better and you help me have more compassion for myself and for other people.
It's amazing. That's really amazing. What else is there? That's the holy grail right there.
Yeah.
All right, Heather, if someone wants to have you on stage, they want you to work with their team, we know how to get your books, but if they want you to come speak, how do they get a hold of you? Where do they find you?
HeatherHodges.com will get me. And I'm on all of the socials. I'm on LinkedIn. My company's name is Hodges Group International, but my website's HeatherHodges.com.
And if they want to listen to your podcast, because I know you have an amazing podcast, tell me about that.
And you've been on it. You and Jen both. You've got to come back. Yeah, it's called the I'm In podcast with an exclamation mark. Like,
how did you figure that name out?
In.
That's it.
That was okay. There was no AI involved in that. That's my own knuckleheadedness, right there. It was my son and I, who's my editor and producer of my podcast and all my videos. We were talking about, what are we going to name this podcast? We knew we wanted to do it, and I kept circling back around to, well, am I going to do it? Well, I'm in, and like that's it. It's
That's
the I'm
great.
in. And then I've taken off on the in part. So it's inspirational, it's informative, it's inspiring. And so it, has all of those characteristics that go along with it. But yeah, the I'm In podcast.
That's awesome. And I didn't know how you found the name, but that's really cool. I'm in. That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's a pleasure to have you here. I know people are going to learn from listening to this podcast. Please reach out to Heather. She's definitely an inspiration to us. I've hired her. We've had her on the stage at the Maxwell conference. She's worked with the Maxwell teams. She's worked with the mission team. She's been around a lot of the different businesses we're at. I know Inhabit and Encompass are all the clinicians there. Loved what you did. Jay and Scott worked with you for many years, and they talk super, super highly of you. And so I know what your message is going to be reactive and reflective to everybody in the industry that gets to hear it. So please reach out to Heather. If she can engage with you, I know you won't be disappointed.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. Talk to you soon.